wear Black Power Media gear, you can accomplish anything. You can play any and every position, from coaching to kicking to receiving to running and juking. And oh my goodness, I see how to get in slow motion. Get off me. And you're going to have a lot of haters coming at you, but what you got to do is you got to shake them off, and get to your goal and accomplish it. And when that's done, it's a beautiful thing. I'm talking about going hard, extra, for that extra point. And when it's done beautifully, you talking about touchdown. Oh, and the crowd goes wild and they're celebrating with you and everything. Man, let's see that again. Nice.
Black Power Media, baby. That's how we do it.
Now go to blackpowermedia.org and get you some of that gear. Empower yourself today. Yeah.
Yeah.
What up? What the deal is? What's happening?
What you rocking today, man? You got the fly Kango the lock Kango cap.
I woke up like this. Nah, man, I was just like, man, listen, doing 1,000 things right now, man. So, I'm grateful. This is my thinking cap to make sure.
There you go. That's what it is. That's what's up.
Word up. How's everything with you, man?
Man, I'm good, man. As good as could be expected, at least. What's up to the remixers coming in, file in, had a good weekend, and then tonight the revolution continues on the Hickory Ridge Village Board meeting.
Okay.
So I'm good. I'm good.
Rumbling.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. No doubt. Yes. James asked me if I went to sleep in my hat. That's nah, man, my hat just like it's like my like Batman's uniform, you know what I'm saying? He stepped inside the booth and all of a sudden the crown was on the joint, you know what I mean? And that's how it was. Now actually my locks this morning, man, they doing their own thing. They going this way, that way. I don't mind, but I don't want to scare y'all too much, man. It's all good.
Right on, well.
Trying to stay in tune.
I have the opposite problem. The complete opposite problem.
Hey man, it's all good, man. It's growing within.
I mean, it's growing within. That's funny. It does make mornings easier, I woke up like this.
I had those days, man, and I miss those days sometimes. I mean, I don't do nothing to my hair, but I'm just saying it's just like sometimes you just want to wake up and just take the rag and just go just hop in the shower, just let it all rock. You know what I'm saying? But
no, 2000. It was the end of 2000. I made it that far. Because the summer of 2000, I was in Cuba and I had all my hair. And then by the end of the year, my hair went to Cuba and stayed down there.
It's like,
I'm not coming back to Babylon. Yeah, I'm not trying to stay free.
He's like, yo, let me help you free your mind. Free your mind and the rest will follow. I can unite with that, man.
Yeah, my hair was an escapee. In fact, that's a nice little segue because Fanon says my hair did exactly what the colonized are supposed to do. Become unworkable and untenable.
Oh man.
It must rebel and escape and flee and end its oppressive conditions. And apparently being attached to my head was my hair felt colonized and said, I'm out.
That's wild. Back in the projects, they used to say cats had police hair. If your hair was like really coily, nappy, they say it rolls up and parks anywhere. But anyway,
oh, wow,
I don't understand.
Police hair, that's funny.
Anyway, welcome to, I was about to say the Remix Morning Show, but this is not the Remix Morning Show. This is GIU, Guerrilla Intellectual University.
Yes,
y'all gotta get that right. Y'all gotta understand that. I don't think, Jared, I was this past weekend, I was speaking to some folks and they was talking about how they love GIU and how the whole Guerrilla Intellectual University concept was great. And I was like, okay, that's pretty dope. I like that. So I'm looking
forward to them. Like you was talking to some intelligent people.
They definitely were. I didn't realize it at first. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, because they wanted to stop and talk. I was like, look, man, I don't feel like talking. I look like I want to talk. Like, oh man, I really love Gorilla Intellectual University. I'm like, tell me more. No, I'm just but
Keep
nah,
talking.
definitely shout out. Yeah. But we're looking forward to bringing this. Of course, today is the conclusion of Wretched of the Earth. And we have a whole lot that we will be discussing in future convos, interviews. Of course, Dr. Joy James will be joining us again. You know, more books. Matter of fact, put in the chat some of the books that you would like us to,
My
get.
man.
Yes, Who
My
Killed George
man.
Jackson?
We and shout out to somebody just sent me the PDF.
Okay.
I didn't know it was out there. I should have checked.
Okay.
I know I definitely want us to do Blood in My Eye, but I really want to encourage more people to read this, and I'm gonna do something on it. I think we should do something on it. This book is, I mean, the details, I mean, the context that it helps offer, and I mean, it's just some wild stuff, man. I think I throw that out there. Yeah.
My book got jacked about probably close to a decade ago. So that PDF will be greatly appreciated. I think you know my email.
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay, good. Matter of fact, I got some stuff I'm supposed to be sending you. Speaking of email, I got the audacity, right?
Oh, that's right.
just like an African. Definitely shout out to Jim Brown. I found out he made his transition while we were doing the last Poets joint, so
oh, for real?
Yeah. I didn't
even hear that.
About Jim Brown transitioning?
Yeah.
I mean, you think it'd been a bigger news, right? I mean, but I don't know, he might have been too black. So Jim Brown made his transition, I believe it was Friday. Because that's when Abiodun had announced it on the show. I had the opportunity to be on a panel and a gang summit with Jim Brown. Man, it's been well over a decade now. That's wild. Time just floats. And from what I saw at that particular space and time or whatever, he was a good dude. He was serious about trying to organize brothers and sisters who were a part of the street organizations on the West Coast. And I enjoyed myself. It was a good experience with some of the other folks. So I definitely say, and just on a rewind, folks forget Jim Brown, the football player. They forget Jim Brown, the activist. Jim Brown, the friend and comrade of, and one of the only member of that 4-man crew, Malcolm, Sam Cooke, and Muhammad Ali, who was the last surviving member of that particular crew. As we can recall, Malcolm was assassinated a couple months after Sam Cooke was murdered, and then, of course, Muhammad Ali, we know his story. But Jim Brown, one of the greatest running backs, if not the greatest running back in the history of football. So definitely remember Jim Brown. I believe he's 87 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, when he got shot running in, what was that movie? That World War II movie?
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
The Dirty Dozen. When he gets shot, I was a kid watching that scene. I was broken. I was like, no way, Jim Brown. Seriously, as a kid, that hurt. That was like one of the first movie scenes to like be like, what? Movies hurt like this? I was like, that's whack. Jim Brown getting shot down like that as he was running. Anyway, I didn't know that. Honestly, I didn't know that. So I my bad. I missed that. I missed a lot this last few days. So
I think my favorite Jim Brown movie would be 3 the Hard Way. Shout out to Jim Kelly, Fred Williamson, You know what I'm saying? Three the Hard Way was a dope film. I guess my favorite part of the joint with Jim Kelly when they was trying to set him up, the police. He's trying to put that dope in his car. He's like, "You trying to set me up?" And he just turn around, start setting it off on him. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Man, so Kamal always talking about he doesn't like Earn Your Liberation as a name. That was one of the names suggested as for the EYL show, Three the Hard Way. And
oh word. I'm
yeah.
glad y'all ain't take that, man. I don't know if y'all could have lived up to that, man.
Oh damn.
I'm with y'all. I rock with y'all, but Three the Hard Way, that's like, you know what I mean? You gotta reserve that. Now that
Well, I'm
could
gonna let him
man.
know that Kalanji said we too soft for that. So
Nah, I
I'm
ain't,
gonna
I ain't
pass it.
saying, I mean,
Kalanji said we not rough enough. No, I'm just playing. But
I ain't
that was
saying
on
that,
the. But I'm just saying it was considered. So shout
right.
out to the
Okay.
film, to the name.
No doubt.
It
No
was,
doubt.
it's a great name.
Yeah. Now
You
it's all,
know.
I think it's always been a powerful name, and I think that I don't think a lot of folks actually saw the film because I hear people talking about Three the Hard Way, like, you know, from I guess hip hop and all types of other
Oh
particular
yeah, no, yeah. No.
components.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no,
but I
no.
don't think
No, because
it's
yeah, when I thought didn't the white boys took it. And I remember I feel like I felt it kind of weighed in. Third Base, didn't they do something Three the Hard Way? Wasn't that an album or something that they did something like that?
I don't know. I'm
Somebody
thinking
back then did that, and I was like, nah.
I know Bahamadia, and I'm trying to think who else was with Bahamadia. She did a
I
Three
don't
the Hard
remember
Way
that
joint.
one.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, she definitely had a Three the Hard Way song.
Mm.
Again, I don't remember who else was on it, but I know that it was her joint, you know. But no, definitely. Shout out to hip hop, and I did mention the Last Poets. For those of you who missed Friday, the Last Poets 55th year anniversary.
I know I missed it. I
Great
gotta go
job.
check it out.
Ah
Yeah.
man, man. I'm gonna give y'all some little tidbits, man. First, we had the Last Poets on. We had two of the members. We had Abiodun and we had David, and David is the brother who the idea actually came from. David is 83 years old. We also had Amdi from the Watts Prophets. A lot of folks aren't familiar with the Watts Prophets. You need to go get a link pass. They came out around the same time as the Last Poets. And there's only one surviving member now, which is our brother Amdi. Amdi's also 83. There was an East Coast, West Coast beef going on. They got into it. Two 83-year-olds got into it about the history of rap, where rap came from. And they literally was rapping some East Coast, West Coast, what they heard, when they heard it. And it definitely predates what we call hip hop. So
I think it was I had a pleasure of meeting him years ago when I was in California. And I played for him a track that sampled one of his speeches that had been put on a Pharoah Monch track called Pain. And it opens up and you hear the Watts Prophet verse. I think it's him.
Okay.
And it's saying, you hear him talking about pain, and it's an old recording of pain. And then it comes in with Pharaoh's verse. Why do I feel so much pain? Never the pain of a migraine, but the pain of a million slaves slain. And they speak to me.
Word.
God talks through me. And I'm like, this joint is blazing. Man, Pharaoh, my favorite. And the brother was like, I don't like it. He was like, I don't like that they did that.
He's not a game. I need y'all to understand.
I was like, I thought this was gonna be a generation. I thought he was gonna thank me for bringing it to his attention. He was like, nah, I didn't appreciate that they did that. And I was like, oh man.
Listen. I mean, it was classic. Their work is classic, but I think the person that I was most happy to have on that particular show was Jean Carn. And for folks who don't know Jean Carn, she is a legendary singer whose work has been sampled throughout. One of her songs we remember from Brand Nubian, Don't let it go to your head now. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that joint, amongst so many others, she worked with like Earth, Wind, and Fire. She worked with Patti LaBelle and all kinds of other type folks or whatever. So she stopped through. Bilal Sunni Ali, of course, which we will be airing. Bilal Sunni Ali is from the Midnight Band. Of course, you've seen him here on the platform dealing with the party, Black Panther Party and BLA, so on and so forth. But he was also a member of Gil Scott-Heron's Midnight Band. In fact, we have a interview that was conducted about 12 years ago. This Saturday will be Gil Scott-Heron's, Gil Scott-Heron's anniversary of his transition. So we will be playing an exclusive, never before heard interview with Bilal on Gil Scott and their relationship. So, look out for that coming up this Friday. But anyway, yeah, so it was a dynamite show, man. They talked about Nina Simone, their experiences, each group, and it wasn't the pleasantries. You know what I'm saying? So, it's really I think it was some valuable work. So thank you all for checking it out.
Absolutely. I'm go get caught up myself. And then at 10, you got something dropping to you also this morning, right?
I have something dropping.
I think so.
Okay.
It's got your face on it.
It must be a
remix.
clip.
Oh, it's a remix rewind. Yeah. Okay. Texas People's Tribunal.
Yeah, me throwing up. I was like, oh, I'm on there.
I'm just trying to keep up with it. That's why you got to have the bell rung, everybody.
I was going to say, I'm about to pull a no-show.
That I'm saying, like, well, you never know what's coming on the platform. We don't even know what's happening. So you got to make sure.
Past weekend. Yeah. A lot of jewels over the past week. So
absolutely. And Todd Burrows came through to talk about air this weekend and said some dumb stuff. So you talk about beef. You talk about beef. I had my own boy, my buddy came on saying stupid stuff. We had to get into it a little bit on Saturday. Like, what
the man said some dumb stuff. What are you saying?
He did. He said some dumb stuff. That's my man.
Todd, where you at, man? You ain't going out like that, are you? What's up?
Yeah. He said some stuff. So go check that out. I don't even want to ruin Fanon's discussion with. I don't even want to sully a Fanon Monday. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, thanks to us for bringing you Fanon on Mondays these last few weeks. What better? You know what I'm saying? Who's Monday?
Early in the morning.
Last Mondays.
You know what I mean? Most of us don't even want to go to work on a Monday morning. Show up with Fanon. We're trying to make it good for you. You know what I'm saying?
You're welcome. Shout out to us.
Nah, they critique us. They like, I don't think Fanon said that. Well, okay,
whatever. Whatever.
Anyway, this is the conclusion today of Fanon's joint. I gotta hop off the screen for 1 second, but I'm gonna let Jared rap for a couple seconds. I'm gonna say that right just like that because I can do that. Bing.
All right, everybody. Yeah, that's funny. Shout out to us and awkward transitions. But definitely the first of all, it's been great. So shout out to all of you for joining us. It's been great to revisit Fanon and Wretched of the Earth, a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser. And it's been great. I can't wait till we get into George Jackson in the next few weeks and beyond. So definitely stay tuned. We did get a couple of really good suggestions. The Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare by Nkrumah. And Black Awakening in Capitalist America by Robert Allen. Okay. I think these are great suggestions and ideas. I would like, and I'm down to do it. We did the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare in my AAPRP study group a little while ago. It's fantastic, of course. I've had the pleasure and privilege of even working a little bit with Robert Allen some years ago. So always happy to revisit that work. And I just want to throw out there, I think we should consider, grabbing up some new stuff at some point. There's a lot of new stuff, young folks producing some work. I would love for us to engage some of that at some point as well. But anyway.
Yeah. Nah.
And James is right, by the way. We should have 10 million subscribers. Get busy, everybody.
and that's all y'all, man. We doing our part, man. We need y'all to get out there and help push this thing down the road. You know what I'm saying? It get heavy sometimes. You know what I'm saying? We got infighting and everything. Like, yo, what you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, and we still come on the screen, act like it's all good. You know what I mean? Me, I
I don't know
don't
what you're
like
talking about.
85% of the people on the platform, and 95 don't like me. But I still come on here for you. I'm suffering so you don't have to. Your
Oh,
ancestors'
wow.
wildest dream. We got that, baby. Anyway, I just had to put that out there just to let folks know that you know, it's what we do around here. Anyway,
Absolutely.
definitely put in the
Absolutely.
chat though. I would suggest, to Jared's point, or Dr. Ball, as everybody, when I'm in the streets, like Dr. Ball said, what did Dr. Ball mean? I'm like, I don't know. Do I look like Dr. Ball? I'm like, don't you ask me what Dr. Ball said. They asked me about some other folks what they said too, but it's probably not as pleasant. Anyway,
Wow.
um, uh, put in the chat books that you think that we should get down on together, and we hope that and give us any ideas or thoughts. What did you think about what we've done so far with Wretched of the Earth? In our particular style and version. I know there's other people out there that's doing what we're doing, but they're not doing what we're doing. Okay. Anyway, let's get busy a little bit. We done got the banter.
Yeah, right on. And then you said you got to break out a little bit early today too, right? So
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. I gotta
if
break
you
out.
like, uh if you want, if you want to get us started, I don't know if you had any points you wanted to address first, or if I don't, to make sure you got them in, or
You know what? If you want to go ahead and start rocking, just go ahead and I'll back you unless you want me to start. It's all good.
no, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
Ivan, so I think this is my fault. I got excited about the conclusion, and there is a small section just before the conclusion, from the North Africans' criminal impulsiveness to the War of National Liberation. This small section that I did want us to quickly address, because it makes a number of important points that I think are still relevant today about and leading us to Fanon's conclusion about where we need to be headed. So he reminds us again, just very quickly, that only the armed struggle can effectively exercise the lies about man that subordinate and literally mutilate the more conscious-minded among us. And then to the point I was mentioning earlier, he talks a little bit about the duty of the colonized subject being that must include, and let me just say, the duty of the colonized subject, as he says here, who has not yet arrived at a political consciousness or a decision to reject the oppressor, is to have the slightest effort literally dragged out of him. This is where non-cooperation, or at least minimal cooperation, clearly materializes. And I thought this was important because he talks a little bit about, over this couple of pages, about something that I thought of, I even did a video of it a few months ago, the right to be lazy, in a 19th century communist argument. And the argument here is that that what is described as laziness or an unwillingness to work should be made into sort of, in my interpretation at least, should be turned into a sort of politically conscious act. And and I think her name is Sarah Sharma. I think she runs the McLuhan Center in Toronto. She wrote this piece about women becoming broken machines in the world of patriarchy, something like that. I'm not probably doing her work justice, but she was making a similar argument that we should become broken machines, was her point. That colonization, imperialism reduces us to machinery, and much like what Fanon is saying here, we should resist that by non-cooperation. So it reminds me of, and I'll stop here for a second, at least, this, when Kwame Ture used to say, make that point about our inability to speak English properly should be understood as an act of rebellion against this colonizer's language. This, in other words, to make consciously political all of the things we are already doing, and then organize around that. So I really love that little section from Fanon there, in reminding us that this whole thing of, in almost the reverse of what we get told to us so much today about work hard and the early bird gets the worm and all this other kind of stuff. Nah, damn that. Work less, work worse.
Right.
Ruin the
Yeah.
function of the system. I love it. Anyway,
Right. But and I would just add, because some folks will take that and run with it and be like, "Oh, we ain't gonna do shit." No,
right.
I think transform that into resistance. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah, that's
doesn't mean don't do shit at all. You know what
right.
I'm
My
saying?
kids talk about, I don't have to make my bed no more. I'm not
Yeah,
doing
we
it. No, that's no,
resist. Yeah, no, we got against the colonizer. Let's get
Exactly.
some clarity going here, because we got folks to deal with absolutes. And they just go, they take that shit and run all the way. You know what I'm saying? We gotta bring on that CRT, and CRT for me is critical revolution theory. You know what I'm saying? Not critical race theory. We got to bring on critical revolution theory. That's what we have to do, and we got to put it into practice, because there's a whole lot of theory, and that's kind of like our downfall. We got a whole bunch of smart dummies. We have a whole bunch of intellectuals who do nothing but intellectually masturbate. You know what I'm saying? And verbally ejaculate. Now, I know that's probably going a little bit above
It's a
people's
lot. It's
pay
a Monday
grade.
morning. It's a rough
Wake
Fanon
up.
Monday morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Wake up. You know what I mean? Fanon's in the building. But yeah, so no, definitely I unite with that. And I'm glad you pointed that piece out, because I had glanced at it and I'm like, did we go through this? Like maybe I missed out, but we
No,
didn't.
we didn't, and it's an important sort of transition section. And speaking of the colonized intellectual, I mean, this is where he also talks a little bit about using a Dr. Carruthers, not Baba Jake, not the late great Dr. Jake Carruthers, but another colonized European who,
Yes.
or European intellectual, Europeanized intellectual at least, and as he says here. Because remember, Fanon, and this is something I'm gonna come back to in a little bit, because I actually went and found something else to add some context to Fanon as we wrap up with him, at least in this book for now. That I think is really important to remember. But he's doing this clinical work, and he's studying what the canon of his field is saying he should read and study and engage, and he's seeing these clear issues and contradictions. So. And as an example here, he talks about a Dr. Carruthers who establishes a very vivid comparison. He puts forward the idea that the normal African is a lobotomized European. And the point that Fanon is getting us to, as he concludes with this book, is to get us to think about what going forward. So he's saying you have to engage in armed struggle. You got to get rid of the colonizer. But then going forward, what are we going to build, and who's going to help us build that? And if we're bringing in a lot of these old ideas of the West and of Europe, and if we're going to simply mimic their approach to ourselves, even, we're going to recreate something that is as I'm going to show in a second that he says about this country here, the United States. We're going to mimic these failures, and part of it is to understand that they're looking at us as saying that in our normal state of nature, at best, we are what for a European is a lobotomized human being. So from their vantage point, from their point of view, and to the extent that those of us have accepted their vantage point and point of view, we can't just, if we move on that basis, we will simply look again to recreate something that is insufficiently anti-African, anti-Black, anti-human, and a colonial sort of replicant of sorts.
I think that would be that, to me, that's kind of the mass line. You know what I mean? I think that unfortunately, most of these lobotomized Europeans, as stated, that's the way of thinking. We look at things, think from a capitalist mind state, right? It's like our whole view, and like you said, vantage point is that of the colonizer. We are even just as arrogant as them. We are the most arrogant slaves on the planet. It's like, because we feel secretly we still represent this particular colony. You know what I mean? I hear Africans arguing about the British are getting all the film work here in the States and this and that. Like,
the Black
that's their
Brits.
colony. Yeah, English is English. We all colonized. You know what I'm saying? So we set tripping over who's getting the acting jobs. We set tripping over, the Mexicans are getting all the work, and they just make anybody brown Mexican. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I forgot it. Was it Todd? Somebody who said it. It wasn't me, but somebody made the point. We still owe the African diaspora for having Terrence Howard play Mandela. so like we can't be too upset if Daniel Kaluuya is going to be Fred Hampton for a minute. Like,
I don't even know which way to go either way.
I mean, either way, it's a mess. But I'm just saying.
And the thing is, we just have to. Woo! We have to imagine.
Yeah, and I love Jennifer Hudson, but not necessarily as Winnie. You know, I think we could. On, anyway, but
I thought you said as Whitney. Now that would have been
no. Oh no.
Jennifer's Whitney. That might have been.
No, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
But just this part here, I, in that section just before the conclusion, I think is really important here too, because just to highlight very quickly what he's saying here. The short of it is, and I think it's relevant for what is happening and how things are discussed here today in our world. For all the discussion of black on black crime and black criminality and so on and so forth, Fanon is very clear. All of that goes away when everybody's focused on national liberation. So he's talking here that since 1954 and the launch of the national liberation struggle against the French, gone are the quarrels, the disputes over minor details ending in homicide. Gone the explosive fits of rage because the neighbor caught sight of my wife's forehead or left shoulder. The national struggle appears to have channeled all this anger and nationalized every affective and emotional reaction. So it's just something to consider, as we mentioned earlier when King was talking about derivative crimes of capital and white supremacy. You know, it's just something to think about. If we really wanted to get rid of the crime in our communities and the black on black, let's get everybody focused on liberation and you know, it'll go away.
Yeah, I mean that is a solution. It is simple. You know what I'm saying? It's like I think that's part of our problem, man. We always look for the hardest road to take, because I think that's a part of the laziness. It's like then you could come with excuses if you make it look more complex than it actually is. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things Fanon talks about, one of his main things, is violence as a tool against colonialism, right? So that right there, that talk goes out the window like ASAP. It's like, what do you mean you can't, whatever, you know? And it's a sensitive situation because, you know, folks, you know, being oppressed is embarrassing, but it's also, it brings on fear. And even the toughest amongst us, you know, there's some type of fear, even the fear of losing, fear of not completing your mission, the fear of not being victorious, you know. So, you know, yeah, it's a situation.
So he clarifies that situation for us very clearly at the beginning of this next of the conclusion, and he just says right out the gate, now, comrades, now is the time to decide to change sides.
It reminds you of Jonathan walking in the courtroom. Repeat that one more time, because as simple as it sounds, we need to let this one marinate, folks.
Now, comrades, now is the time to decide to change sides. And I actually was thinking a lot about this. It's been in my head for the last 48 hours or so. And I've been thinking, I think I like this way he's phrased, because I kept thinking in my head, I wanted to change it to which side are you on?
Mm-hmm.
Which side are you on?
Right.
And I think what I've concluded is I like this version better, because he's not asking us what side are we on and leaving us a choice. He's saying directly and clearly, you have to now change.
What you gonna do?
It's not a question.
Right.
You have to change sides. We're
right.
operating as petty Europeans, lobotomized Europeans. Now we have to get, and the whole conclusion is just about not duplicating Europe. Not
Enoch banging on the guard. It's
The
all
chat
good.
is hilarious. I love it.
Chat is nuts. We love y'all. Y'all keep us woke.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some of y'all we can
Uh,
do without.
I
However,
mean, we all have our good and bad days, but you know
yeah,
what I'm saying.
it's all good. Yeah.
But yeah, and he's saying, again, there's no question. We're not gonna. And if I could, he goes on to describe. I mean, we can come back and look at some of this, but I just where is the line where he says, "Oh, damn, it's very short." So I must have. Anyway, there's a line in here where he talks about. There it is. 2 centuries ago, a former European colony took into its head to catch up with Europe. It has been so successful that the United States of America has become a monster where the flaws, sickness, and inhumanity of Europe have reached frightening proportions. That's 63, 60, 62, whatever he was, 63 when he's writing this on his way to his doom,
Right.
looking death in the face.
He hadn't gotten the full glimpse or grasp
Nope.
of Israel at that time either.
Oh,
You know
well,
what I'm saying?
yeah, my bad. No, you're right. Absolutely.
Because it was still young in its terror. So he hadn't really
Absolutely.
got the, if he said that about the US, if he's still around, I mean, both of these little monsters, have been running amok.
So to your point, and this is interesting that you say that, because to your point, so he dies, Fanon, that is, dies in 63. The United States,
did he die in 63? He died in 63?
Am I wrong about that?
Maybe I thought it was 61. I might be wrong.
Maybe it is 61. Somewhere he dies early in the 60s. You're probably right.
Okay.
My memory ain't to be trusted.
Yeah, and he was 36, by the way, folks, just in case, because
Right.
it almost sounds like you're saying he died in the 60s, which I know you're
not.
Oh,
no. Oh, no, I didn't mean to say that at all. No, he was in his 30s, died early in the early 60s, early 1960s.
Yes.
But if I remember correctly, from Norman Finkelstein, when he was writing about, when he was appropriately in his lane, he made the point that Israel was not a primary focus of the United States until after the 67 war, where they demonstrated that they could defeat an enemy in Egypt, and therefore decided to get, and that's when the U.S. took over from France as the primary supporter of the Zionist project. And so to your point, and to the point he's making there, and to the point I was initially thinking of, the U.S. was just kind of ramping up in its imperialism and its management of states here and abroad. So yeah, I mean, to have already recognized, and his point is, to us, the U.S. tried to become a little Europe. Right. We can't do that. So the fact of our freedom is without question. We're going to get it. We're going to have our freedom. Now, what are we going to build? And then he says, so we can't just become lobotomized Europeans. We can't just follow Europe. We got to get something completely. And he's very vague here in a sense. It's like, this is like the most vague, it seems, of his entire work. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. It just can't be nothing like Europe. It's got to be new. It's got to be different. And I like that. And I like that. And I appreciated that about this, the way he concludes here. And I like that he doesn't say you have to do X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C. He's saying, I don't have all the answers. I've given you the blueprint through this lens of the Algerian Revolution. Right. He says here, if we want to transform Africa into New Europe, America into New Europe, then let us entrust the destinies of our countries to the Europeans. They will do a better job than the rest of us. So he's like, they can outwhite us. So let's do something different. Anyway,
it's wild, because just knowing Fanon's history, knowing that he was fighting for the French against the Nazis during World War II, and then getting educated in France, and then understanding, like, look, these motherfuckers is what I'm saying, these are the monsters I got to turn against. So then joining the Algerian independence struggle and fight, and becoming a psychiatrist, and taking it to where we are right now. it is, to me, when we look at him and Malcolm, I think the similarities for me is him once fighting for the French, like Malcolm once fought for the U.S. And folks are like, what do you mean Malcolm once fought for the U.S.? Malcolm wasn't in the military. No, his actions were that of Europeans. It was about, he was a problem to Africans. He was anti-revolution. But once you find the truth, that transformation is important. And I'm saying that because, again, Fanon being 36 when he transitioned, Malcolm being 39 when he transitioned, Che Guevara being 9, you know what I'm saying? Walter Rodney, 36? Just so many of these brothers and sisters who existed never saw 40. And I know I've mentioned this several times on the platform, but I need to remind us, because I think that oftentimes we overlook certain people, right? We feel like you don't know enough, or you don't understand what's going on, so on and so forth. I know folks that are literally late 20s, early 30s that have a better political analysis than folks that are 70, and they both consider themselves in the movement. You know what I mean? So, Fanon was phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? I was about to say phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's hot though. That's bars. He
Yeah.
was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
He was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be phenomenal. Phenomenal.
No doubt. And folks still try not to give him his credit.
So that's so it's perfect that you said so let me do. I love that you did that, and I love that we had there's no planning on it. Man,
this is all freestyle, y'all. Some of y'all been like, no, this is whack.
I love this shit.
But
no, it's definitely not whack. But check this out real quick before I show how dope that was. One last bit of because my petty and hateful radar didn't miss this line right here, but because we deal with this on the platform a lot. The interaction, the dissimilarity or the overlap or the beef between Marxism and variations of other thought. This little bar in here, I just thought this was a little. I was like, look at Fanon, look at it. He dropping bombs throughout this whole joint, but here's a little pew pew pew. Today we are witnessing a stasis of Europe. Comrades, let us flee this stagnation where dialectics has gradually turned into a logic of the status quo.
I'm gonna lean back on that.
Lean back on that one. He said, "Son."
Hey, hold on. I'm gonna take it back to the preacher, like what y'all say in the chat. Read. But the Israelite brother, shout out to the what they say. Read. Let's do that.
Thank you, brother Kalaji. Thank you. Today, brothers and sisters.
What day?
Today.
Okay.
Not yesterday, not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
Today.
Just today. What are we doing?
We are, if I may add, bearing witness, sisters and brothers,
to
the congregation gathered this morning.
That's right.
Of a stasis of Europe.
Hold it. Not a stasis. A stasis.
And for my South Side, the recently canceled South Side show, and all hate and middle fingers to the HBO execs for making that decision. Remember, my girl Stacy said, Stacy is now in stasis. She said, I'm on a break. She said, Stacy is now in stasis. I said, that's hilarious.
There we go.
But he said, we are witnessing a stasis of Europe. Comrades. Let us flee this stagnation. Like, may I say, like Moses leading his people out of it.
Here comes the rod. Bam.
Let us flee the stagnation where dialectics has gradually turned into a logic of the status quo.
And we're gonna pause on that. Now, some of y'all ain't gonna like that. This ain't us.
I don't even like it.
This Fanon.
But that's bars.
Fanon was phenomenal.
He was phenomenal.
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 He's in the building. Yes. So,
but he's right. I mean, to the extent, seriously, even as it hurts me a little bit, we do have to be clear that there are those, just as would do with any other ism, who happily run off and let that ism. And I'm telling you, oh Lord, just as another prequel, does this come up here where the conflict and Baba Vakian makes an appearance. Good God.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, and the conflict is so clear.
Okay.
Fanon or you silly little Marxists.
And
George we all know where George was.
Yeah.
George was like, nah. Shout out to Nah B. That's what George said. Nah B. You have read your dialectics into locking you into inaction. You have read your dialectics into locking you into, in today's language, voting for the lesser of two evils. A woman that I have good deal of respect for, who used to work with me at WPFW. I used to work with her at WPFW. Shout out to WPFW. She told me after I came out, loudly criticizing Obama at the beginning. She said, oh no, she said, her exact phrase was, your dialectics are broken. That's what she told me. She said, you're supposed to support this. Your dialectics are broken. Anthony Montero came on here and said, as a communist, he had to vote for Trump. And I'm like,
listen, man, I quote the Welfare Poets. For those of you that don't know the Welfare Poets, go check out the Welfare Poets out of New York. One of the songs they have is called The Bullet, and the hook goes, we didn't vote to get into this shit, so we won't vote to get out. We didn't vote to get into this shit, so we don't vote to get out. Understand that. Let me tell you something. We are so confused. And I always talk about the movement as a train, right? And some people are getting off at certain stations. And you got to be clear about that. Now, if you ever rode long distance on a train with one of your homies or your comrades or whatever, at some point, or a bus or whatever, y'all been kicking it the whole ride. But eventually, folks got to get off at different stops. So you have to be understanding. You have to say, listen, okay, I can go this far with you, but the rest of that shit, gotta go. You know what I'm saying? It's like aliens. But go ahead.
No, but this just to complete the perfect unplanned set. I wanted to, in preparation for this morning, I just wanted to see just quickly, as relatively, what is being said about Fanon today. So I did a search of Google Scholar and said just over the past several months of 2023. And this article came up here from January of this year. The comrade on the crossroads of scholarship and struggle, troubling the exile of Frantz Fanon from social and political psychology. So it's obviously dealing with the field of psychology, but it's an attempting to raise questions similar to what you just asked Kalanji about, or raised. How is it that folks are not, how is it that people still don't appropriate or properly appropriate the work of Fanon or include the work of Fanon? And just a couple points here. I didn't get to read the entire thing, but just a few, I thought, excerpts that were relevant for today. They're asking, it's a discussion with several scholars, and I don't know any of them. They're from all over the world. This is someone from New Zealand. And they're saying, and I just to quote here, and I've asked them, where did you get the notion to do, because they're talking about the struggles in New Zealand, and in this case, their work with some indigenous revolutionaries. Where did you get the notion to do what you did, to come up against the state and make power plays and protests? And they surprisingly told me they read Fanon. They were reading Fanon. Those fundamental questions that he has that just transcend time. So in dealing with trying to answer the question of how is it that fields in academia and others elsewhere are not properly engaging Fanon, they're in some ways, I think in that case, at least answering their own question, because when people pick him up, they become uncomfortable. unsanctionable. So they said here, we curate this section to argue that Fanon's ability to inhabit and speak to multiple worlds does not only reside in intellectual clarity or persuasive writing style, but also in the life decisions that drove him out of France and into the ranks of the Front de Libération Nationale in Algeria and the Pan-African movement later on. Here we remember Fanon's life as the school of praxis, a life that is testament to the crossroads where decolonial thought and decolonial combat overlap. Honestly, I don't remember this, but his middle name was Omar. I didn't remember Frantz Omar Fanon. And he talked about born in French. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay.
Born in Martinique, 1925. He left Martinique in 1943, as you were talking about earlier, to fight with the Free French forces during World War II. In serving, Fanon was exposed to the racism of France, which, while proclaiming to fight for universal liberty and equality, separated its military forces by race. This led Fanon to reject World War II and profoundly shaped his revolutionary thought. Oh, my body always makes me, he said, oh, my body always make me a man who questions. I remember that line. I like that line. In his later work, Fanon shifts focus away from anti-Blackness as a core theme toward the broader effects of colonization rooted in the context of French colonialism in Algeria, where he moved in 1953. During that time, Fanon was the chief of staff for the psychiatric ward at Blida-Joinville Hospital, which was part of the French civilizing, colonizing mission in North Africa that espoused the belief that Islamic civilization was in need of care. The institution itself requires treatment if it is to treat its patients, was Fanon's approach to institutional therapy, and he realized that the institution is what needs to be repaired. He later became committed to a Pan-African vision. Fanon expanded his political work beyond Algeria, and he traveled around the continent to organize the African Legion project, calling for the creation of another Algeria in the whole of Africa. In this regard, for Fanon, decolonization seeks not so much the death of colonialism, but life of the people. I really thought that was actually an important point. That we consider that, and it's something that George Jackson said similarly, that he said I only became hateful when I saw that you all were doing this on purpose.
Right. And that's the thing. We have to, and I tell folks all the time, we have to love ourselves more than we hate our enemy. You know what I'm saying? So however that works, we have to do that, because I think that oftentimes we get caught up in the problem and not the solution. You know what I'm saying? We're caught up in, look at what they're doing to us. They're gunning us down. Okay, how do you stop it? You know what I'm saying? And when you love your people and when you love yourself more than you hate your enemy, then you're going to do everything it takes to maintain and to advance in that love. And that's what, I often quote Che, paraphrasing about revolution being an act of love, and I think that folks get it twisted, and they think that it's just about, we hate white fragility or we hate whatever the case is. It's not about that at all. It's about love.
Yeah. Actually, this was the line most specific in this essay or this article that speaks to what you, Kalonji, were just talking about. Fanon's disciplinary exile is curious. The few notable works that center him within social and political psychology are indeed exceptional, as in rare and quite brilliant. But how might we understand Fanon's absence, and what are the consequences for the field? We pose these questions not for the purposes of the continued academization of Fanonian thought, nor for disciplinary decadence, but as a way to imagine what can be gleaned from a serious social, political, and psychological engagement with Fanon towards his own urgent call, theory to praxis. So I again, didn't get to read the entire thing. I don't know all the scholars involved, but I appreciate
put the link in the chat for the folks.
Because, absolutely. Absolutely.
Folks like to jump on it.
Yep. And there it is now. Yep. But yeah, so anyway, it speaks to exactly what you mentioned and what I think is important about what we're doing here. bringing the conversation, back to the fore, and
Right.
being reminded ourselves of the importance of this kind of work. And if I can, this was the line that I was referencing, and why I think a lot of people have struggled with our hate awards. Shout out to the hate crew, and misunderstood our project. But as George Jackson said here, I dig people, righteous people. I always have found it hard to really hate anyone. I loved people. I understood from the beginning that the end purpose of life was simply to live, experience, contribute, connect, to gratify the body and mind. I began to hate when I discovered that the mystification was interjected intentionally. So a little bit better written than me just saying done on purpose. But he's saying, like, you all are mystifying stuff that's scientific and revolutionary, and doing it on purpose. And that's why I hate it. And I hate you. So hate on.
I hate you.
That's right.
What would you say was your favorite chapter? In your, if we would say a hip hop quotable, what would be your favorite chapter in the book, and what would be your favorite quote or paragraph or what have you?
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm ready to. I mean, the one on violence would be the easy answer, but
Right.
but I don't know. I'd have to think about that. And honestly, off the top of my head, I don't always remember what section every point and idea was in. I don't know. Let me let you go first on that, because I don't have a good answer.
And that's why I asked you first. But definitely on violence would be the go-to. And it's a piece that and I have my book with me, so it's a piece where he's talking about decolonization. He says, well, he's always talking about decolonization, but this particular piece, I think it's on the second page. He says, decolonization never goes unnoticed, for it focuses on and fundamentally alters being and transforms the spectator, crushed to a non-essential state into a privileged actor, captured in a virtually grandiose fashion by the spotlight of history. It infuses a new rhythm specific to a new generation of men with a new language and a new humanity. Decolonization is truly the creation of new men, but such a creation cannot be attributed to a supernatural power. The thing colonized becomes a man through the very process of liberation. Um, and he goes on to talk about bloody knife blades and cannonball fire and so on and so forth. But my point is, what I like about that piece is just the just simply saying that, going back to the whole laziness, right? In movement, you have to be involved. You know what I'm saying? If you're really talking about decolonization, it's you can't write it away. We can't talk it away on GIU. You know what I'm saying? We can't. It's a process, and it's a process that involves pain. And of course, we always witnessing pain, but we're always experiencing pain as a people. But that pain has to be equally distributed, or we have to give them greater gifts. And I think that that's the part that most people struggle with. And it is sane to struggle with, you know, with being violent, but at the same time, out of love or for the sake of love, then sometimes you have to bring about pain, and that's kind of where I see it. And the chapter on violence, I think that's probably the most uncomfortable chapter for most people, and I don't think most people even venture past that particular first piece. You know what I mean? Because it's a call to action in a way that is unfamiliar, or shall I say uncomfortable. It's familiar because of the fact that it's easy to enact violence on your own. If someone's breaking in your car or whatever, I'm gonna shoot that. No, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody's breaking in your house, it's no question. But if the police beat your children down, or they're murdering someone, or has their knee on their neck down the street, the best you can do is pull out your phone and tape it and say, "Get off him." You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, it's that would be mine.
So I actually found the quote for me that I've referenced it for years, and was and I was trying to confirm what section it was in, and then I lost it. I think it's that's one thing I hate about Kindle. That is in the section on the chapter on violence, and it's the quote about dreams, and it's something that now I can't. Now I gotta do the search all over again. But and it's something that I think about actually in every semester, because I ask my students all the time, what do you want out of the world? And it usually comes in a conversation where we start talking about my politics, and then they start asking, well, what do you mean when you say you want us to be revolutionaries? Like, what do you, and what kind of world do you want? And, and all that. And I'm like, I don't know exactly. I'm still trying to figure that out. And then I ask them, like, what do you want out of this experience? And what do you want for your lives? And it feels like, and I should do I should like make this an actual whatever project, but it seems like over the years, the dreams that I ask them about are increasingly more individualized and reducible to, I want a house, I want a car, I want a good job. And I get it. But I always, wish that they would have something, bigger, dream of something bigger. And then I found the quote, and now I can't find it again. But the point is that Fanon says something to the effect that the job of the colonizer is to destroy the dreams of the colonized, and the goal of the colonized is always to develop all means to destroy the colonizer. Should be. And I've messed up the quote. It is actually one of my favorites. But and I found it, and then I lost it, and I can't find it again fast enough. But anyway, that would be the one I would pick, because I like the vagueness of it. I like kind of like the way he ends the book. I don't know exactly what to say. I don't know exactly what to tell you to do. Right. But I want you to dream bigger. I want you to dream in a non-European free way, and then the answers you'll figure it out, is what I think he's saying, and I like that.
And that gives it more of a prophetic ending, opposed to saying, "Look, I know everything," because that's kind of the attitude that many of our people take. We got so many people that know everything, but yet produce nothing. So it's like knowing is half the battle, right? But I think that Fanon should definitely be studied. What we've attempted here was more of a cursory glance. So we encourage folks to go back and reread The Wretched of the Earth. And I would suggest that at some point we come back, maybe a year from now, and do another piece in regards to it. But
I love it.
Yeah, we do have a number of things coming up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I finally found it. Let me just read the quote properly and show it.
Cool. Please.
It says, the work of the colonist is to make even dreams of liberty impossible for the colonized. The work of the colonized is to imagine every possible method for annihilating the colonist. That's it.
That is I almost got back in the preacher mode and said, "Read."
Yeah. No, I know you got to go, and we're gonna wrap early this morning. But that's really it. And thank you for the super chat, Adanya. Yes. Fanon, colonialism is violence at its core and will only halt when met with greater violence.
Yeah, I mean it's reality bites, boy. You know what I'm saying? With that in mind, since we're on our Fanon and we're talking about some of these different positions, I want to remind folks and invite folks. We started Fitness for Resistance on Malcolm X Day this past Friday. So we invite you all, we encourage you to join us on our journey. We are working to get our brothers and sisters as fit as possible because we know that we often talk about certain things. We have, you know, again, we get into the intellectual masturbation. It's like, we love to talk that talk, but now it's time to walk that walk. Some of the things that we'll be doing, folks, to be clear, is we'll be fasting. And the fast during the month of August, we know that during Black August, we fast daily, but we also do what we do call flea days, which is 24-hour fast. We are declaring that we will be fasting on the days and anniversaries of our martyrs. So if they were assassinated or whatever, we will do 24-hour fast. So we will keep you all posted as to how we're doing that, getting physically fit, do different types of workout plans, martial arts, um, political education, of course, meditation, because I'm learning how key that is. I've been on my meditation a lot as of late just to keep that balance. But we want to encourage you all, like I said, fitness for resistance. Encourage you all to get down. We're going to be pushing this throughout from now till the month of Black August. The website for folks to stay updated or to sign up for, our newsletter, etc., is on the screen right now. It's thepeoplesarmy.org/fitness #4 resistance. Thepeoplesarmy.org/fitness for resistance. My apologies, Jared. I know we didn't talk about this, but I just wanted to put that out because I feel like we have to exercise not just our mental, but our physical and spiritual as well. Because right now, where we are in these particular times, solutions is all that matters. We know all the problems. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't do nothing but defend yourself and your family, you know, that's a start. But if you're being caught out here by these white supremacists and these police and you're just being attacked and taking these ass whoopings, then that's not it's not a good thing. And I'm not fitness for resistance is not about, we're not calling for violence, quote unquote. We're calling for the love of self. So we're all working out. We know oftentimes it's difficult to work out and train as individuals, but we've put together this program so that folks can have some camaraderie, so on and so forth. If you're involved, hashtag Fitness for Resistance Challenge, hashtag Fitness for Resistance Challenge when you're posting, so that we all, learn from each other. So I just wanted to bring that out, of course.
No, right on. Absolutely. Good work. Big shout out to Enoch, Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare by Kwame Nkrumah. Would love both y'all sides. I'm always down to read that again.
Let's go.
Nkrumah was a bad man.
Without a doubt.
And quickly, Emma, I've seen Fanon liberalize in academia a lot. And one of the things I used to notice happening all the time is he'll be reduced to that one quote. Every generation must fulfill its mission, betrayed, or whatever that, I forget that line, but then they just sort of isolate him in that quote, or they isolate black skin, white masks with almost an exclusive focus on only the psychology of anti-blackness as opposed to the anti-colonial struggle and the Pan-Africanism that, as we were just talking about, Fanon would evolve to. So it's very slick. I've noticed a very slick attempt to include someone who is maybe too big to fully omit at times, but they don't want to bring him in appropriate ways. It's a similar thing I think they do to Malcolm and Martin and other big names all the time. You can mention them in ways that, what we just talked about the other day, where they're talking about King as a radical Christian.
Right.
That's safe for the Washington Post, to do. That would be my short answer to that.
And it is by design, and it's not just the quote unquote academics or the state. It's folks who are quote unquote involved in movement, because it threatens or calls to task a lot of things that are being done and not done. You got folks that are, sell their soul to the highest bidder in the name of revolution. You know what I'm saying? They got the red, black, and green flags, and they popping off, and mutual aid and all kinds of other bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I just want to be power adjacent. It's not even about power. Like, who looks good? Who looks strong? Who looks sharp? You know what I'm saying? Oh, we got to skip that Fanon chapter because Fanon just addressed that, and folks will hear it and they be like, well, that sounds like you. Oh, we got to skip that George Jackson or that Kwame Nkrumah. You know?
They're just not real like me on that Hickory Ridge
real
Village
like-
board. That's what I'm saying.
What it is.
It's
It's called Hickory Ridge Village.
Hickory
Damn,
Ridge.
Yeah. Listen. Look, man, don't say the name no more.
Hey,
I'm trying to work with you. He's like, yeah, Hickory Ridge. I'm like, oh shit. You know the Hickory Ridge cats coming at you.
it doesn't sound
HR.
it
That's
doesn't
HR, huh?
it sounds soft. It's you know, it's soft is what my man say is a soup sandwich. It's my man used to say.
Sandwich. That's
He
pretty
saw me
damn
coming out
soft.
the gym one day. He was like, he saw my gut. He was like, you look a little soft there, looking like a soup sandwich. I said, oh.
You're supposed to punch them in the eye just for that. Just but if he said
I had to take it. I had to take it to heart, man. I had to take it to heart, man, and get back. And get back. You know,
no doubt, man. Soft soup sandwich. Anyway, checking out Guerrilla Intellectual University.
Yes, sir.
Merch is on the way. You know what I'm saying? I want to point that out. We will have those T-shirts.
Because you know I'm rocking my free ant today.
Okay,
but
that's hard.
But I want I'm always down for some new merch.
Yeah,
I think I bought out the BPM store already.
Let's what I mean? You know what I mean? You know, it's only a few of us that represent for real. But but GIU, you know, we definitely gonna have merch coming. Yes,
hey,
sir.
I was so desperate to get Kamau associated with Black Power Media, all this Cop City talk. I had to invite him on our Mix What I Like next week.
Oh, man.
Like I was like, hold up.
Will he be shouting BPM out?
I mean, he might have to. This one, like,
I like to thank Roland Martin.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And CNN and local Atlanta TV, whatever the channel is, that Jake Channel 4 in Atlanta.
But the things you gotta do to get
great.
The things you gotta do to get your partners to shout out Black Power Media.
I'm telling you, it's the best. Yeah, man, anyway,
man, listen.
Thanks to you, my man Kalanji.
Yes,
Peace
sir.
to the
Appreciate
remixers. And like Fred Hampton used to say, because we know you're willing to fight for it, we will catch you next time here on GIU and throughout the BPM platform.
No doubt. Revolutionary love, good people. Be safe out there.